I can't even let that come out of my mouth. Okay, it's Wednesday. Yeah, okay, here we go. Comp Wednesday's on. We turn this thing around quickly after the Monday Nighter and get going. We know we have another terrific opponent. It just seems like one after another after another. We just keep getting challenged by it. And the teams keep bringing special players and schemes and histories of winning and all that stuff that just makes this a great run and a great challenge. Going down to the Coliseum is always kind of fun and all that. But this starts really the fourth quarter for us, and we got to get going, and we got to play good football all the way down the stretch. And this is a very difficult challenge. They played so good last week against the Cardinals; they just looked almost infallible. And so we saw them at their best, which is always good for us in getting prepared. So we got to get ready to go.
You mentioned the stretch, all these tough games. How valuable is that if and when you get to the postseason that you've been tested like this?
John, I think it's crucial. I really think it's crucial that you just have to just keep getting ready, and you know, it's why we used to schedule the way we used to schedule back in the day. You know, you can the games that are almost distractions, you know, in college don't help you. I don't think. I never think that, and it's I think it bears itself out here that these games you just have to just keep getting turned around and get ready regardless of what just happened, good or bad. And so I'm hoping, you know, that's kind of the way I'm approaching it. That it's a big deal for us. It's going to help us.
When you have a shorter week like this, what does that mean for the coaches in terms of preparing for the next week?
Yeah, it's our big crunch last night and yesterday and last night just to get here, because today we do a Monday and then we do a Wednesday also, you know, with the players to get set up. And so in reality we go through a Tell the Truth Monday and then we spin it around and get rolling, you know, and so it's a challenge, and we made it. You know, we know how to do it and all that, but it's a little different than when you have the extra day.
Answer.
He looks like he's doing okay so far. We won't know for a couple days if he's clear and all that.
How long until you think you'll get the explosive Tyler Lockett back from his injury?
Well, I don't know that we haven't had all that, but I'm anxious for him to have this week and then get back at it. You know, he was really sick last week, real sick, and as a couple guys were, and it just takes a lot out of you. So he's doing better.
Why was Luke Wilson tasked as being the caretaker for David Moore and Tyler Lockett, and what were his tasks as caretaker?
It's kind of the juice master, you know. That's kind of really says it all right there. Juice master.
Providing
He was the passion coordinator. His title was officially a passion coordinator.
Not fashion coordinator, but passion coordinator?
Passion, yeah.
When you say juice, was he like making them smoothies or juice like energy?
No, we're talking energy.
There's sick people.
He would do that, though.
Yeah.
If a guy needed it, he would do whatever it took.
What's Ans's situation? What's his ailment?
Who is this one?
Ans, I'm sorry. What's Ans's ailment?
He had a stinger in the game. We just got to make sure he's okay.
Is it related to his shoulder surgery and all that?
I can't tell you that. I don't know that answer.
Have you ever seen a player wear a surgeon's mask at practice like Trey was? And a lot of players were sent home. Trey practiced through it, and KJ was telling us after the game that he wore a mask. Is it a first for you?
I think that might have been a first. No, it wasn't a first, because Marshawn used to wear that crazy thing. He used to wear it once in a while.
How are the sick guys doing?
We're in pretty good shape. We got to hang on to our coaching staff now and make sure they make it through.
Pete, after the Tampa Bay game, it seemed like a lot of the defensive players, if not all of them, despite having to win, were feeling a little down about the performance. KJ and Bobby was saying things got to get better. Did you feel the same way, and did you feel like there was kind of a breakthrough after that? Because since then, it seems like you guys have been pretty on point.
We were all a little bit frustrated. You know, we're waiting for it to kind of click in where we started to make some things happen. And it really would gauge it by if we're getting the ball. You know, that is such a factor in how we play. And we've been a little bit quiet there for a bit, and it's just kind of by the way you play, it happens. You know, you create it, and the opportunities come your way, and you can make the most of it. It changes kind of the complexion of the games and all. So it really cranked up after that, it seemed, but you know, I mean, if you want to put the label on that one, you can. I don't know if it was that point or not, but certainly we've been better since then.
How much did something just click? Is this Diggs coming into the lineup, kind of solidifying the secondary? Is there something you can point to?
We can give Q some credit on that. He has been a factor. It feels like he's been a factor. I don't know that I don't know if he was bolstering the pass rush from way back there, but everything just picked up about that time. So it was a coincidence or whatever. I don't know. Let's give him credit for it.
Travis Homer said after the game that he had not had much experience returning kicks, so you asked him to do that. What was it that he showed you, gave you the confidence to put it back?
Really, his style of running. He is such an attack runner. It's a really big factor when you're returning kickoffs. That you get out and you get going right away. And he's a burst runner, just as you guys saw him. He has a real style about him in that regard, and he's really tough. And he's a guy that we just have trusted so much. Look, he's the personal protector for the punt team as a rookie because he's so diligent about his work, and it just means so much to him. So we just figured that he would have the right makeup to do a good solid job back there. He's been really sharp, really consistent the first few shots he's had.
How'd Jadavian come out of it? Waking up kind of the morning after, and now
pretty
two guys
good.
removed from the
Pretty
game.
good. He's practicing today, and that's a really good sign. It's a really good sign.
When guys are toughened through some things like Dwayne was with his arm earlier, like JD is now, alter what you expect to see from them in game?
What was the last part about what we expect to see?
Yeah.
Is that what we
Does that
expect?
alter your expectations of knowing that they are playing through something significant?
That would mean that I would have had lower expectations for those guys, and I really didn't. So, not necessarily, to answer your question, not necessarily, but these guys, if they feel a real responsibility to the guys next to them, and they want to do everything they can to be there for them, and when you have that kind of emotional connection, it can take you places, that maybe you might not go otherwise. And so we have very high expectations for our guys, in all ways, but I think it shows up sometimes. And some of the guys are just uniquely kind of gifted with the makeup that they're going to get through whatever they're up against. They're just not going to let anything get in the way. Dwayne's one of those guys for sure. We're learning about Jadavian, and it's been there's so many guys over the years that have just been spectacular in their resolve about I'm going to get back, and they defy the numbers of days and weeks and whatever, and they do amazing things. So I hope that answers that.
One of the national shows today talked about how much fun you guys were having. They were saying something like nobody's having more fun right now than the Seahawks. How important is having fun?
Is
in
there
the
a
NFL?
meter for that? Like one of those.
I don't know. Because obviously not every coach in the NFL really cares about how much fun the players are having.
Okay. Well, I do, and it's always been, you play football, and I like to go back to that thought. You don't work football, you don't drudgery through football. You play it, and these guys love to play this game. They've grown up as kids loving it, and I don't ever want to lose connection with that. So if having a good time doing it, figuring out how to lighten up the atmosphere while we work really hard and maintain standards, and I'm going to find a way. If we're not having fun, I feel like I'm screwing up, to tell you the truth. And so it should be a good time, and we should be practicing with great energy and juice and hauling butt around here and everything we're doing. But you can have a good time doing that too, and it's just been the way we do it.
The first game with the Rams, their pass rush only got to Russell once for 6-yard loss. Are you guys learning to block Aaron Donald better, or is that
I don't know about that now. I don't know if you ever get that done. We don't think that way, no. He's an incredible player and so suddenly explosive. I mean, just out of nowhere, he can control the game. And so you really have to do, a job to take care of him, to neutralize him. He's going to have an impact. So we just got to neutralize it as much as we can.
What's Jalen Ramsey brought to their defense?
Well, great experience, and they're trusting him, and they'll match him up sometimes on guys that they think that they need to do something special for. He's an incredible athlete and player and performer and dynamic playmaker. So we have to really know where he is at all times.
How have you seen the Rams offense kind of adjust and adapt this year as they've kind of gone through some struggles and tried to figure things out? How have they changed, if any, from what you've seen from them?
Well, they're throwing the ball very much the same as they have. They've been, really productive with the throwing game. Running game numbers aren't quite as big as they've been. It's really the only difference that you would see. They're right around 100 yards a game rushing, and I think they were quite a bit more than that last year. So that's probably the only factor. But they've got a really diverse throwing game off of their play passes and then off of the gun and empties and all the things that they do. And they can throw the ball at anybody. And that was evidenced last week when he threw for, 400 or something.
How would you assess DK Metcalf's ongoing progression? It seems like Monday night was one of his better route running games. Kind of showed a lot, and then still working through some drops and some fumbling as well.
I think he's making progress every week. You can see him working with the ball. I don't know if you could tell, but he worked hard to protect the football in some runs that he had after the catch, which is what we want him to do more so instead of just being a brute and trying to run over everything. The play that he got the ball knocked down was very questionable, whether it was a fumble or incomplete and all that. But there's something there to learn too, just that split second of an instance to try and get that ball, connected to his body a little bit quicker. So he's learning. You can see it in his actions. About the route running and all that, I think he's been running routes pretty well. He did have a couple real nice ones. The one on the 20-yard slant down by the goal line was a really sharp-looking route. He can run all the routes now. We don't have any. We're not surprised to see that. We're excited about it.
You spoke earlier about the culture of this team and the emphasis on having fun. And obviously, a football team's culture is sort of about the partnership between a head coach and a franchise quarterback. What kind of a partner is Russell Wilson in keeping things fun for this team?
Well, it's interesting. I don't. Russ isn't going to like this, but I don't think of Russ as being like the fun maker. I don't think of him that way. He is just so dead on consistent and so beautifully competitive, regardless of wherever we are, whatever we're doing, forever. Now he likes to see the fun happen, and he'll take part in it and all that. But he's more about driving the work and making sure that everybody's on it and that he's on it and he's doing the best he can possibly do. And he's totally compliant to go along with it all, but our connection, I think, is truest in the competitiveness that we both feel about how we like to approach our work and all. And I mean, we couldn't be more in sync in that regard. And then I'm more the guy worrying about the fun, and he goes along with it more so, and he keeps driving the comp as much as he can.
Bruce Peterson made some news, obviously, by stepping away. I'm wondering, one, did you have a reaction to that, or what's your reaction to that? And two, he was talking about the demands of college football. You've coached on both levels. Do you feel like there's a difference in terms of the demands for being an NFL coach versus a college coach?
Well, first off, I think Chris is one of the best coaches I ever saw. We used to, when he was at Boise and we were scheming up trying to figure out how to beat Oregon or the teams that he played, Washington or whatever, we would always look at their film first on both sides of the ball because we just thought they were so far out there with their technology and their strategy and all that stuff. So I've had a tremendous respect well before I ever even knew him. I didn't know him until he got here. And just think the world of his style of coaching and leadership is remarkably out there. And this had nothing to do with his ability to be successful and be a great head coach. He sees the world in a way that he wants to do some things differently. And I couldn't applaud it more. That's a hard choice to make. This is something that we are so committed to, and it calls on so much of us to be in everything that we're doing that it's all consuming. In the college game, there are some differences. I think a lot of it's the same. You can kind of put things like, recruiting is kind of like the draft, and you can kind of shift those things, which is how I've done it. But the college thing is really, really demanding in terms of the constant recruiting pressure, and strain. It's really the strain of it, that it just doesn't go away. Because as soon as you're on the next year always anyway, and so it's just an ongoing process. And that's one part of it. But the other part of it is just the demands of being on top is for a guy who's a great ball coach and staying out there, and it's a strain now, and I totally understand why he would make his choice, and anybody that does, this is a cauldron of competitiveness, and it's most challenging, and he's a dead serious, want to get it done in great fashion, huge, high standards, and expectations for himself and all that. And he was highly successful, kick butt, and he's going to do some other stuff and kick butt, whatever that is too. The difference is about, I think the recruiting thing is the biggest part of it that's different, but one step further, that in college ball, where we were, you lose a game and it's like you lost 8. It's like you almost went through a losing streak. And it's a little different in this league in that regard. It's hard to win every game in this league. Obviously, one team's done it forever in one time, and how many teams have lost one game? That doesn't happen like that either. So it's a little bit different in that expectation for you. I think that mentally is a little different, but. Anyway, my hat's off to Chris. I love what he did, and I love the team that he put together and all the stuff he's ever done. And he's just going to figure it out from now and do something great again. And he can't help but do that.
Is there more constituencies to serve in the college game than
yes.
pro?
Yeah. Like when we're here, as opposed to college, it's hard to imagine what it was like in LA, but for you. But it was just a constant revolving door of people coming through the office and coming through the facility and around you. Here we're pretty much sequestered, it's quiet for the most part. So there's a lot more quiet time than I used to get where I was down there, and there is the constant of the boosters and all that kind of stuff that are more connected than our fans, and they feel more connected and they are more connected. They're closer to you, as well as just their students. You're working in the middle of 16,000 people. Right in the middle of all that. So there's so many more opportunities for activity and things and all that. So there are not too many Trojan Club meetings here either. We have to make the rounds in the springtime and all that. So you do minimize the things that can pull you away from the football.
There's also the rules of the NCAA.
Yeah, there's that too. Yeah, and that's not so stressing. That's just guidelines. But fortunately, the rules in some regards keep you from. You can only practice so much. You only have a limited amount of time and stuff like that. So that helps the coaches in some regard.
What have you thought of the off-season trips that Russell has organized to get the receivers and skill guys down to LA or Southern
I've always,
California?
been happy that he figured out a way to do that, and it's just another sign of him competing like we're talking about, looking for a way to keep guys together and connected and all that. I think it's terrific leadership. It's hard because the guys are everywhere, it's all over the place and it costs money to get that done. But his heart's in the right place, and he's just trying to keep his guys as sharp as he can for as long as he can.
What benefit do you see of it?
Pardon me?
Well, what's the benefit? Can you see that play? Can you see the benefit?
Yeah, there's benefit in relationships, relationship-wise for sure. Guys hang out, they make special efforts. People show how much it means to them as well, and they share that, that concern and all that, and the passion. That's all good stuff, and it's relationship oriented mostly. It's not so much the football as it is just kind of getting together and working hard and staying motivated and staying connected so that they can maintain a real high level of effort and stuff during that time of year.
Speaking of LA, this might be your last time coaching Coliseum. Does that mean anything?
You never know.
Well, with the new stadium, obviously, so.
I don't have any idea what that means.
Just coaching at the Coliseum for.
Why is that? Is that because they're going to play in the other stadium next year?
Next year.
So the question is?
You're getting a chance to do it again, and what you're looking forward to in it, if anything.
I mean, it's really fun to go to the Coliseum and be down in LA. For me, honestly, it is. But it's not the same thing. It's not. You're not coaching the Trojans, and that's a whole different experience. It's just not even. I can't even relate it to you. One time I was walking down the tunnel there with Ronnie Lott, and we were walking down. I think it was before a game when we were coaching. He was just at the game, and I asked him something. I said, does this still mean something to me? He said, you kidding? That being at the Coliseum and playing there for a college kid lasts you the rest of your lifetime. You can go to pro teams and you go here and you go there and you move around a little bit. You never get the connection that you have that's so lasting and so meaningful. And here's to me the most passionate, greatest football player maybe ever. Is telling me how much that meant to him. And so it's hard to describe to you that going back in another uniform and all. It's not the same thing. And I understand what he's talking about. Not to the depth because he was, he graduated from there and all the rest of it. But so there's something really special about it, and it's fun. Yeah, I'm anxious to see the visiting locker room. Back in the day, Al Davis painted it pink. When the Raiders were there, and changed the configuration. I mean, I told you guys this in the locker room so that there was no place that you could get together with your team. It was just a total mess. It was chaotic the way he set it up, and the pink was for the try to make you passive. Like they do in jails and stuff like that or whatever. And it was horrible. And so I'm anxious to see if they fix it up because it was always really terrible for our opponents.
You ever been in jail?
Just one night. I mean, you know.
How central is Todd Gurley to everything they do? It seems to.
Yeah, he is. He's such a great player. You know, he's just such a complete football player. The running for sure. The special plays that he makes because of his style and his ability to break tackles and make you miss and all that. But then give him the whole passing game that he's extremely involved with as well. Just gives him space and gets him out of the screens and the perimeter stuff that they do. He's an incredible factor, and when he's at his best, like he has been, like he's you know, he carried the ball 19 times or something, or 20 times, 2 of the last 3 weeks, I think. You know, they're on it. You know, they're really good when he's going, and he's just that good of a player.
Were you surprised a couple weeks ago when the Ravens dominated the Rams to a degree?
I think the Ravens were tough now. They're tough. They're hard to deal with, and you know, they beat New England. They've beaten a lot of teams now, and that's it's a hard team to deal with right now. It's the hardest they'll be now, I hope. You know, we'll get more used to how their style and how they play and all that. It'll be really fun to play them again. Okay.
Thank you.